have you join us. This is Enterprise Morning, and let's move straight to our main conversation for today. President Bola Tinubu yesterday wielded the big stick to resolving the 2-year political crisis ravaging Rivers State by declaring a state of emergency. In a 1,003-word nationwide broadcast, the president suspended the governor, Governor Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months. He appointed former Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Ibokette Ibas, retired, as administrator, and the appointment is subject to the confirmation of the National Assembly. With the development, Rivers has become the 6th state after Plateau, Ekiti, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa to witness state of emergency since the return of democratic rule in 1999. Also, Rivers became the 3rd state after Plateau and Ekiti to have their governors, deputies, and legislators suspended during the emergency rule. Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states' governors were in the saddle during the emergency rule in the 3 states declared, of course, in the 3 states that the state of emergency were declared. Now let's have our conversation for today. I have joining me from Atlanta, Georgia, Barrister Evans Ofeli, Barrister Law Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so very much, Barrister Evans, for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right. And also have John Akerele from Saitama in Japan. Thank you so very much, John, for hanging on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, beautiful. And we still have right here in our studios Innocent Aduluba. Thank you, Innocent.
My pleasure. I'm the only local man.
Thank you for being patriotic and being here also. So let's start with you, Barrister Evans Ofeli. This is the biggest news coming out of Nigeria. I'd love to hear your take before we go into deeper matters concerning the issue.
Yeah, what the president did yesterday was that he declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. Now, that provision of the Constitution, Section 305, is more like an equitable remedy, okay, where the country is in turmoil or war, either the country or any part thereof is in war, is in turmoil, is in crisis, and there's a need to restore peace. The president is empowered under the 1999 Constitution to declare a state of emergency. In fact, the first leg of it is that the governor of the state will inform the president and invite the president to declare that state of emergency. But where the governor fails to do that, the president can, by its own prerogative, declare a state of emergency on the issue and see how to restore peace. So if you look at that section 305 down, when the president declared this state of emergency, he referenced that section 305 rather. He referenced that section of the law to the effect that this is acting in compliance with the Constitution, which is fine. And then he has declared there's clear and present danger. Okay, there is imminent danger, there's political crisis and all that. Now, he has that right to so declare a state of emergency. But the state of emergency he declared, there were certain errors around it, okay? Because in it, he said that the governor, the deputy governor, and the State House of Assembly were hereby suspended, okay? The president have no such powers under our law to suspend the governor, deputy governor, or the State House of Assembly, because these are institutions and persons who have mandate of the people who were elected into office. Okay, the president only have power to suspend a minister or an appointee of his, of an agency of government or department of government. That the president have power to suspend, sack, terminate or whatever it is. But as to persons or authorities with a mandate who were elected, the president have no such powers. Section 108 of the Constitution determines how a governor will be removed from office. Okay? Then for the State House of Assembly, the Constitution also have detailed how the State of Assembly can be dissolved or how a member can be recalled, okay, thereof. So when you rest that there, the president under this process, because the state of emergency is not automatic, having declared the state of emergency, the proclamation is, reduced into an official gazette.
Yeah.
The law says that that gazette can be transmitted to the National Assembly. Okay? Then the National Assembly shall, within 2 days, when they are sitting, determine the fate of that proclamation. Okay? Then within 10 days, where they are on recess, determine the fate of that proclamation. So, for it to have validity in the eyes of the law, it requires the concurrence of the National Assembly, okay, in either ways, okay? So that concurrence is what will happen between today and tomorrow, or between today and the next 10 days, if they are on recess. Okay, but the bottom line is that while the president has the right to declare a state of emergency, he does not have the right to remove a sitting governor, a deputy, or to suspend the State House of Assembly, as it were. So for the purposes of jurisprudence and analysis, the state of emergency declared is inchoate for now, because whether the president made a mistake or not, it has not been ratified by the State House of Assembly, or the concurrence of the State House of Assembly have not been declared yet. So we will wait to see what the National Assembly we'll wait and see what the National Assembly is going to do. Because if the National Assembly fails to give their concurrence, such proclamation dies there. It dies there. So that is the position of the law.
Wow, this is actually becoming very complex, because I know that the National Assembly, both the red and the green chambers, have admitted that they were properly consulted before the action was taken. But I'd love to go to you, John Akerele, on this particular matter, and I'd love to take us back, to when Obasanjo sacked Plateau State Governor. Just 2 weeks after that, a newspaper, PM News, actually carried an article here that says Tinubu cries out again, federal government is after me. Now, lots of people are drawing back to that publication done as at the time. Now, the question is, why is it so difficult for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to understand that this is not the process, or this is not the way it should be taken care of, especially with regards to Rivers State?
Thank you very much. Good morning to viewers all over the world again. I think if you ask me this question, it answers the bias of some people who feel like Fubara as a sitting governor is being victimized, and that Wike, the other contender, the other hand, is seen as a tool to destroy the PDP and also take Rivers State to APC. And you can see all of that in all of this. Now, what this administration failed to understand is the fact that internet does not forget. We have history, and people always go back and check. When you were on the other side, is it the same way you responded to issues like this? I would have expected that Mr. President, in all due respect to his office and to his personality, would have told a different line, in resolving this issue. My brother, there are some people who feel like, Wike is like an untouchable person to Mr. President. Even in the declaration you had today of the state of emergency, did you see any area of presidential declaration that talks to the person of the minister of FCT? The answer is no. So people who are saying to you that this is an attempt to capture Rivers State, this is an attempt to take Rivers State to APC, they are also correct in their own premise and analysis. So what I think, is that if you compare that to other cases that emanated for them to have state of emergency, the question I will ask you again is this: how many lives have been lost in the last 24 or 48 hours in Rivers State? How many people have died? What's the state of violence in Rivers State? In other parts of the northeast and northwestern part of the country, that you have recorded killings and kidnapping and violence, people wielding guns on broad daylight, shooting and kidnapping people in their 100, 200, 300 people have been kidnapped. Did you declare state of emergency in such a scenario? And so it's still under the same administration that people have been kidnapped. Emirs have been killed in their palaces. Was the state of emergency declared in such a place? So the thing is, if you want to do something, let's see that you are even in your argument. Let's see that in your judgment is equal to all, not one-sided. So this, for me, I think the president was not properly advised, or probably those who advised him are mischievous in giving such advice to the Mr. President. Secondly, is the fact that the Mr. President has played to the gallery, and that for me is where I feel so sorry about it. Ordinarily, he would have, sat down as a genius politically, that, as a claimed genius in the political system, we would have looked at how to strike a balance. If you have said, you have put on this for, to suspend the House of Assembly, the governor, and the deputy, and then bring in an administrator that will anchor that for the next 6 months. And also that the administrator can also bring up his own provisions. And I'm asking a question. Under which law permits an administrator to come up with laws on its own?
Actually, the president said that he is not allowed to create laws, right? But he can create policies that would help the state. So it's very important that we make
English.
it clear.
What is policy? What is law? What is policy? What is law? So it means that if you formulate a new policy now, that is what the Rivers people will be governed by, according to Mr. President. Now the thing is, under that policy will be ratified by the Federal Executive Council. My brother, please show me. Thank God, lawyer Barrister Evans is here. Show me in the constitution of the country where it states that the Federal Executive Council will be the one to ratify a policy for a state in this country. Let's not come and make this country like a country that does not have rule of law. And we have seen it even at the apex. And that's why for me it's so shameful. And we have the SGSCs, we have the Judicial Council of Nigeria, and they have people who I think should have advised the Mr. President properly on these decisions, and not that it should go on that way. Now, to the other fact that he needed 2/3 of the House to ratify that judgment, I can tell you that they will ratify that judgment. It's not the same as assembly that I was standing on your mandate, we shall stand. Where everybody stood up with their Agbada and Abadiga. So for me, it's a show of shame from the highest level to the lowest level. And that is what we have bring, that ridicule to Rivers and even to Nigeria at large. But for me, the question I'm asking now is of what economic importance is it to the people working on the street of Umokoro, Ada George, and Aoda in Port Harcourt? Of what importance, of what dividend have they achieved since this administration came on board? Of whose interest can you say that this fight is for? Is it not about the control of power and against the next election? And so for me, Rivers people at this point in time should open their eyes and ask themselves, what is the gain of Rivers people in this case? And also, on the other hand, like I said to you, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike have been granting many media pallies and interviews and has issued so many statements. The same way Mr. President have come out to rebuke Fubara as a governor, I would have loved him to also rebuke his own minister, Nyesom Wike. In that case, it would have been seen as a balanced strike, that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. In that case, there's a balance between these two. And so you'll be seen indeed as a father figure that wants settlement. So when you come up with this proclamation that the governor, deputy governor, and our assembly is suspended, that will not raise people's eyebrow, even if it's not constitutional. Do you understand? But in this case, that is now raising up eyebrow that there are two people in this fight. You are only wielding that stick of judgment on one person, and the other person is seen to be gallivanting up and down the street of Abuja, feeling that he's untouchable. And that is why he whip up the sentiment of the Ijaw people. Don't forget that in Rivers State, never has there been a time where an Ijaw man is a governor. And today you have an Ijaw man as a sitting governor for the first time in Rivers State. And now the Ijaw people are feeling threatened that the first time they have a governor, you want to take the governor out by force and by fire. because it's not dancing to your own tune. Of whose interest is the governorship? Is it to you as a person or to the people of Rivers State? These are questions people are asking.
Yes, very, very true. You know,
right now,
yes. Okay. So just let me
land on this point.
Yes,
and that's why you see the latest developments coming up. Ijaw people have given you a warning. Don't touch our son. You touch our son, we will touch you. You go feel am. And that's what's really happening now. Now, the question is, if the president does not take to good advice, even after these 6 months, I don't see peace coming to Rivers State.
Very, very true. Innocent Adolugba, in the 1,003 words broadcast by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just like John rightly said, and never was it at any point did he mention Nyesom Wike as a party to the problem that, of course, brewed up in Rivers State in Nigeria. But speak to us. What do you think is the problem at this particular point with regards to, was it even necessary in the first place for a state of emergency to be declared? What are the modalities that allow for state of emergency? I'd love you to help us fleshing that out academically and otherwise.
Well, thank you. My previous speakers, I think, have in part answered some of this question. But it's all about anything leading to a predictable absence of peace and order in a state can preempt or can warrant or can necessitate the reinstatement of a state of emergency. And like Barrister Ophelia said, the most simple process is that the governor of a state reports to the president and invites him to come and declare a state of emergency in his state. In this situation, perhaps the last we heard was Governor Fubara has agreed to obey the Supreme Court, while the Rivers State House of Assembly went on recess, denying him the circumstance and setting to carry out, because he has gone there and they are not there. You know, so perhaps, I mean, I'm not speaking in proxy for the governor. Perhaps the governor is looking for how the House can reconvene so he can carry out either the budget presentation or whatever. There are also allegations. You know, now there are, like John has told us, it's a two-line thing between Minister Wike and Governor Fubara. The masses, the electorates, are the abandoned casualties on the political battlefield of power and interest, you know. And so, Governor Fubara, I am surprised, that the first public speaking of President Tinubu in this issue that has lingered is to appear on TV in a national broadcast and declare an emergency. And this has irked a lot of people, including the Coalition of United Political Parties in Nigeria, the CUPP. They are speaking that this suspension is in violation of Section 1, Subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. I think Barrister Ophelia will throw more light on that. That part expressly prohibits any forceful takeover of democratic government outside a democratic constitutional process. There are precedents to this in the Attorney General of the Federation versus Attorney General of Lagos State 2013. The Supreme Court ruled that under no circumstances shall the democratic structures be suspended or dissolved even in a state of emergency. Also in 2006, the Supreme Court also invalidated this. We wouldn't know if this is what President Goodluck Jonathan followed during the declaration of state of emergency in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, where the principles were reinstated, but the emergency rule took effect. In this case, both the executive and the legislature have been suspended, and President Tinubu expressly stated that the judiciary are insulated from this emergency. So a lot of people also feel that there was concerning the explosion in Rivers State, that it may be, I mean, there are finger pointing across the divide, that the Abuja faction, which we, let's call it that, may have masterminded that explosion as proof of restiveness in River State, so that a setting for an emergency declaration can be seen as realistic. Analysts have also argued that the APC is a party that must grow. Every party grows. However, like I would always say, politics is not righteousness. If this is how the PDP of Rivers, alongside all of these intrigues, eventually get annexed into the APC would have gained one more state, as it were. All of these conjectures, but it's a freshly developing story. But the bottom line is this. John has told us, and that makes Minister Nyesom Wike a ghost in this situation, because there is no light that has been beamed across Nyesom Wike to say, oh, for your involvement in this and that. And that is where people will say insana claims.
Very true.
Minister Wike wouldn't be sitting on his desk. And I make bold to say repeatedly that I am grossly disappointed in the People's Democratic Party. They should help Minister Nyesom Wike settle completely as an APC senator by opening their books and carry out their rules about a member with one leg in Party A and one leg in Party B. Everything Nyesom Wike does drives the People's Democratic Party towards a diminishing return. And the PDP are closing on that. So my concern is primarily, politically speaking, the plight of the masses. I've listened to a senior advocate of Nigeria say, River State is not Port Harcourt, unlike Lagos. If you go to Edo State is not Benin. Kwara State is not Ilorin. River State is not in Port Harcourt. Ahoda, Bonny, and co. His argument is, in a state like this, how many local governments are in River State? How many are affected that you declare a state of emergency on the entire states, for God's sake?
Very, very true.
You know.
Yes. Barrister, I'd love to, speak to you on this particular matter. Afam Osigwe SAN, the president of the NBA, had come up to say that he is not satisfied, he's not satisfied with what the president has done, and equally queried the way it was done in the first place. Now, my question to you is there any safety net at this point for Fubara? But most importantly, knowing that President Bola Tinubu has a skin in the game, do you think the judiciary is in any way a savior to the problem that we have?
Very well. The decision taken so far is not yet completed. It's inchoate. But when it's fully completed, the governor of Rivers State, Senior Fubara, can challenge the decision, okay? Can challenge that decision can be challenged, okay? And I think that it's important we do that at this day and time to put a rest to what this thing, because if you look at the AG of Federation and AG of Lagos State, which was quoted by my friend in the studio, the Supreme Court said that you cannot, dismantle a democratically elected structure just by policy or by whatsoever it is you are doing. It is wrong to take down a mandate, that was donated, allegiance of a collective donated to a citizen for the purpose of governance. You as a president or as whoever cannot take such down. You understand? And that is the beauty of democracy in that light. So the safety nets are that if you look at when Jonathan state of emergency in those local government areas, not the entire state, in local government areas within a state, the local government chairmen of those local government areas were not removed, were not suspended. Okay, and peace was still restored. Okay, the idea of a state of emergency is that you are activating that mechanism for the purpose of the restoration of peace. The idea is that is made for peace. But now the president, unfortunately, is using it to play politics. Okay, he's using that power to play politics. That's what he's doing. That's why if you look at the proclamation, you see where he talked about Fubara demolishing.
Exactly, very true. Because I wanted to go there.
Okay.
Yes.
The demolition of assembly, he did this, he did that. Meanwhile, Wike, the House of Assembly member, defected. He didn't put that in the proclamation. They defected from the political party, and then they turned around to make a mess. So they started this problem. So if you look at the imbalance, you see that the president is playing politics with Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution and such abuse. And then when you look at his position when Jonathan declared state of emergency, when APC or ACN then were in opposition, okay, he was ranting and talking all about the fact that this was wrong. Today, he's the one sitting on that illegality. He's the one unleashing it, okay, to the larger society. Okay, I think this can be challenged. My position is that a case has to be filed in court because the people who, I'm also very disappointed that we have an Attorney General of the Federation who will allow this kind of embarrassment to fester uncontrollably. Attorney General of the Federation, if you are not compromised politically, you should be able to advise the president effectively on decisions like that borders on the rule of law. Okay? So that we don't sweep away the rule of law in its entirety just because we are playing politics of opposition and politics of the second term and the rest of that. Because all this is driving to 2027 and the rest of that. So I don't think we should continue this path, okay? There must be a way to restore. You can declare state of emergency in Rivers State. Let the soldiers move in against those blowing up pipelines, okay? And let there be whatever it is you can put together through that mechanism to resolve the dispute between the State House of Assembly and and Wike and whatsoever. You can actually achieve that same peace without suspending anyone and then without using this administrator. Now, this administrator that is going there, what is he going to do? Is he going to summon Wike and summon Fubara and the State House of Assembly and then tell them to stop warring? Okay, this state of emergency will subsist for 6 months, okay, which is renewable by another 6 months. But it's not about the 6 months and the second 6 months. It's about whether the state of emergency was declared rightly or not, or was declared, in the way it should be declared. Because already there's infraction. And the fact that there's infraction already in the decision does not even matter what the National Assembly will do. That infraction will see rub off on the entire system and it make it null and void.
All right, thank you so very much. John, let us get to the implication of and the effect of some of these things to the good people of Rivers State. We read on our newspaper headlines that already it would cost the government $35.5 million daily for the loss to the pipeline. Already we have another explosion in Bayelsa, and possibly it could be a proliferation of explosions in different parts of the Niger Delta area. Speak to us. When you take a look at what has gone wrong, where do you see the Niger Delta in the next couple of months, possibly the 6 months that the president has made possible?
There will be more chaos in Niger Delta. And the reason why there will be more chaos is the fact that the Ijaw peoples, feel like they are being cheated. The Ijaw people feel like they are being marginalized. And I think everybody who has the interest of Nigeria at heart will wake up daily and hear that our oil production has increased. We'll now see that we are now able to, increase our OPEC quota, which means that we will be able to generate more money. We'll be happy. Anybody in this country who is a student of history, who understand what the Yaraduas of this world faced, who understand how the creek works and how militancy festered, those who understand the damage that happened to Nigerian economy, the environmental damage, those who understand lives that were lost on the part of both the militants and the Nigerian military, those who understand the families that will never forget such instances because they lost their loved ones, commanders died, army generals died in the creek, soldiers were lost, and the country was bleeding. I don't think anybody who is in his right mind, who understand the efficacy of such moments, will address or advise Mr. President to go this route. You see, when somebody says that I will bite you, ask yourself, does he have teeth? The answer is, if they say they will bite you, they have the teeth to bite you. And they have shown you that they can bite you. The question you should ask yourself is, how come there's explosion in Bayelsa? I'm not justifying the violence, but I'm only telling you, if there's explosion in Bayelsa, is Bayelsa River State? The answer is no. But the Ijaw Nation transverse even to Bayelsa. And the part is that they are in those parts of the region that produce oil. And they are saying to you, what is their sentiment? Their sentiment is simple. That for the first time in Rivers, that they have a sitting governor who is an Ijaw man. And they feel that you want to take him out by all means because he didn't take to your dealings and your biddings. And that is why you haven't such thing. Mr. President should go back to the history book and look at the peace that have assumed from Niger Delta region over the years. And should look at the
All right, so we have a little bit of a glitch there. But just before I get back to Innocent, who is right here in our studios, let's talk about the issue of godfatherism. Nyesom Wike, many years ago, when he had an interview, did say some things about godfatherism, especially as regards to Edo State and Obaseki. Now, this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
To an end of this so-called godfatherism. The mere fact that Obaseki resisted this godfatherism should even be one reason Edo people should vote for him.
Being back. So, Innocent Aduluba, in that particular video, Nyesom Wike was speaking to the issue of godfatherism and how that it's very important for godfatherism to die. And today, with the issue he has with Siminalayi Fubara, of course he is obviously exhibiting that. So is that not contradictory?
Yes, Minister Nyesom Wike is a happy man. Minister Nyesom Wike is a lucky man. The scenario of those speech are different. It tells you about the frailties of humanity. In that video, Senator Nyesom Wike was on a marketing trip of the PDP, and he was, how do I put it, mandated to speak like a salesman. So he was there to sell the PDP. And so part of the credentials he has to hype is that if Governor Obaseki of the time can resist godfatherism, it is applaudable and the people should have him voted in. Do you understand? So at that time, his message was to speak against godfatherism, which resonated well with the Edo electorates. Today, Minister Nyesom Wike is a principal actor in a godfather-godson feud. And so it will be incongruous for Minister Wike to be singing the same chorus.
Because, of course, it's even more debasing, for the fact that all of this godfatherism thing has led to his own state being declared. And don't you think that some Wike has something to lose in all of these things, or is it just more of self-gratification for the fact that if it's not going my way, it can all be gone?
Okay, since 1967 till today, Rivers State has had 10 military administrators. Courtesy of Nyesom Wike's intervention in Rivers State now has an 11th military administrator. In the newly appointed retired Navy Ibokette Ibas, from 1967 to 75 was Alfred Deites Fifth, who we could call a son of the soil, and the Kaduna man Zamani Lekwot succeeded him before Obasanjo's military administration came in, when Suleiman Seidu succeeded. Then after Buhari, during Buhari there was Fidelis Oyakilome as military governor. Within the IBB days was Anthony Ukpo and Ernest Adeleye, as well as Godwin Abbey. With Abacha came Dauda Komo, Musa Shehu, and Sam Enwang. Now we have this scenario. And while the democracy is on for the 35 states, Rivers State alone is being run by that administration of Ibokette Ibas. And as John will tell you, if the man is authorized from the presidency to float policies to run the state, policy is a accumulation of action or inaction of government. That is authority. When we talk power, when we talk politics, there are three elements: power, influence, and authority. Authority is a combo of power and influence backed by law. So there are nomenclature, there are grammar to some of this. But in the end, the question will be asked: has the presidency elected in a democracy installed a military government in Rivers? That is politically an anathema. And as we speak, it is the masses in Rivers State, those who have voted Governor Fubara, those who have voted their ward and constituency representatives in the into the State House of Assembly, that are shortchanged at the wrong end of the bargain.
Very, very true. So just before we continue, because we still have our guests, just for us to get everything all sorted out, we're of course discussing the happenings in Rivers State, Nigeria. But of course, we'll be right back. Let's go for a short break. It's still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for being back. It's still the trendiest matter happening around Nigeria, and that is on the Rivers crisis state of emergency. I still have with me John Akerele. Thank you so very much, John, for being back after a little network glitch.
Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. So you were saying something just before we went for that short break. So you can just end on your thoughts on that.
So what I'm saying is that the presidents have been wrongly advised, and that the president should understand that he went around the 36 states of this country to campaign for this job, and that people who never went to that 36 state with him should not give him advice that would destroy his administration and also destabilize the country and also bring down the revenue generation of that country. And the little success we have recorded should be sustained, not destroyed.
Very, very true. And talking about the resources not destroyed, where do you see Wike in all of this in the future? Then my second question is, do you think this is but a macrocosm of what we expect in the larger society, even if we do not wish for it by any means? You know what I'm talking about?
I think that all political leaders should take a cue from those who have been senators before, who are governors before, who today, they have their graves and their pictures inscribed on their graves. When it's time for you to go, and you go, what will people behind you say? Is it that you have fought for the progress of your community, or it's about personal interest? In this case and time, if the same thing happened to Wike, can he take this dimension? You know, and Mr. President or APC as a party should not see this as a gain for them. It might be a gain for them politically, but it's taking the country aback, even 10 years behind. And in the case where we are looking towards progress, we are looking towards development. In Japan here, I look at my country and I cry that when can we get to this level of development and progress? And so that for me is something that I think the leadership now should understand, that the time for them is ticking, and one wrong decision can destroy all that they have labored for and all that they have worked for. Then I look at 2027, what will now be the thing that you campaign about? Is it that the oil price that is working in the global market and that the output that we're able to meet our OPEC quota, now before your next election, that quota has dropped drastically? Is that what you're going to campaign on? And so we should look beyond personal interest and gains. Rather, we should look at a broader picture for a bigger, better, and prosperous Nigeria that we, all of us, can be proud of, even those in diaspora. If you ask me now, they say, John, where are you from? I say, proudly Nigerian. It means that even wherever I am in the world, I still remain a Nigerian with my passport, and I still love my country, and I'll do my own quota because Nigeria is great again. So all political leaders should understand that fact, that we all have a legacy to bequeath to the nation yet unborn. And what will be said about us is what we must always consider at the end of our decisions.
Very, very true. Innocent Ajoba, just before we draw the curtain for today, when you take a look at historically from the past and moving on to the future, where do you see Nigeria in all of this, knowing that the players that have made all of this possible were people who experienced Nigeria when it was at its golden, years, and now they are the ones at the throne, and of course not doing what they should do, just like John said, take Nigeria to a place where we all will be happy people.
If we want to go back to history, one of Nigeria's former Attorney General, Mohammed Bello Adoke, he wrote his memoir, The Burden of Service, the reminiscences of Nigeria's former Attorney General, and in a whole chapter, he was praising President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan for declaring a state of emergency and retaining the governors and local government chairpersons, as it were. For him, he has told us that, he said historically speaking, the Constitution empowers the federal government to make laws during state of emergencies. And that's where someone like the Tafawa Balewa administration could suspend the premier of the Western region in 1962, as long as some premiers in 1961. But you see, the Constitution has changed from 1979 and 1999 Constitution, which has spelled how a state should declare emergency. And you see, in all of this, if you come through history, it now behooves those at the saddle to embrace or reject impunity. And you see, in Nigeria, there's a language that, oh, he did it, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So it looks like state power is at arms. If you oppose it, you become the target of that arm. So Nigeria is not young. We are old now. If you take 1960 independence till now, look at where John is talking from. There are neighboring countries. I dare say, if you come to the Koreans across the channel there, those are countries whose independence are around Nigeria. If you go to South Asia, Southeast Asia, and look at the Thailand, the Singapore, yeah, the Indonesias, who are there, Taiwans and co. Those are India. Of course, India perhaps 13 years before Nigeria, but what's 13 years gap? What's 13 years? Ghana 3 years before us, Okay, so if you look at all of it, we shouldn't keep saying we're a young democracy. We can't be young until we become grandpa overnight. Nigeria is old. from 1960. What can we point at as something that is steadily advancing Nigeria's political culture, come what may? What can we point at? Where he is at a participant political culture. That economy, John, is the security of your democracy there. And nothing hinders that economic life. Your Nikkei has to continue. I think they are on a mission. They will not bow to the yen. They will not bow to the dollar. They will not bow to the euro. They will not bow to the pound. Those are not their rival. The Japanese currency is its own rival. It must be at its best each time. And in being at your best, you will now find out that, oh, today the yen, the Nikkei overtook the dollar or whatever. So in Nigeria, what are we benchmarking ourselves with? By the time a party wins a state to join itself, so what was the betterment plight of the people in that state whose political label you just won? You know, all of this be put in place. We are presently where there is fasting for both Christians and Muslims.
Exactly.
Some states in this country, 5 of them out there in the north, say students, pupils will not go to school for 5 weeks until Ramadan is over. I don't think there is a public comment or speech from President Tinubu.
Very true.
The way this one has happened in Rivers. You know, the Attorney General never spoke to that. The president or chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum never spoke to that. There is a president or chairman of Northern Nigerian Governors Forum, never spoke to that. What you hear are opposition voices. And in Nigeria, the cliche is they will get tired. You know, so what is the value, what is the worth of humans within this country? So as we speak, there are jubilation in certain camps. So
yeah.
There are jubilation in certain camp that, oh, what's the word? Fubara has been made to capitulate.
Yes.
That's a victory index for some people. But what of the larger gains? You know, politics is not so raw and blunt and naked. As you chase who gets what, when and how, as you chase authoritative allocation of resources, you look at power. Politics is also the shaping and sharing of power. Are we doing this meritoriously? Because righteousness exalts a nation.
Very, very true. John, just before I let you leave, Innocent did talk about the larger gains to the people. As it stands today, what do you think could be the relationship between the beautiful people of Ikwere in Rivers State and the Ijaws in that particular community, knowing that over the years they've lived like one, like brothers, they've celebrated themselves over the years, made possible by great people. But here we have one man who has intentionally decided to draw the divide. What do you think going forward the relationship would look like?
The same thing is the card that our political leaders always play. And they play the card of ethnicity, they play the card of religion, and they play the card of region. Now for me, the question I always ask is, when you go outside the shores of Nigeria, and Barrister Evans is in Alberta there, ask him at the airport, does he ask this person where you are from? In as much he is a Nigerian, you don't care what part of the country is from, you don't care his religion. We move on like that as Nigerians. We see ourselves as brothers. The Ekweres, the Ijaws, the Calabaris have lived in Port Harcourt in Rivers State for many years. They've done businesses for many years. They've intermarried themselves, and they have families and relatives in different across, the ethnicity. And now, these people are trying to divide them and cause war and mayhem amongst themselves. The question they should ask themselves is, what will be the gain of the Calabaris, the Ijaws, the Bibius, and the Ekweres if there is war in Rivers State? Of what economic importance will it be to them? If you say that the Calabaris, the Ekweres get power, does it mean that the life of people are better? Just like the cliche in Nigeria, Emiloko. Now the president is in power. Will you say to me now from the studio there where you are, that the lives of an average Yoruba man is better than that of an Hausa man in Nigeria today? The answer is no. And so the people should understand most time that it is not about them. It's about the people in power. It's about the political elite. Don't be surprised tomorrow that if Fubara, jumps into APC, all of his sins will be forgiven. I quote Senator Adams Oshomole. And then all this issue of impeachment and state of emergency will be a thing of the past. But the thing is, in all of this, what development is given to Rivers State? How has it increased the rate of unemployment or decreased it? How has it, increased the economic importance of Rivers State? How has it increased the internal generated revenue of Rivers State? How has it made an average man on the street of Port Harcourt a better person? How has it increased their healthcare facilities? Because all of this money that is being wasted on frivolities, like I call it, would have been invested in infrastructure. You go to that, they all travel. Wike himself travels out, he goes to France, he goes to that country of the world. If that is the way those leaders of those countries are doing, will they be able to travel to those countries? And so it is high time we talk to our leaders, eyeball to eyeball, ojukoro, just like you're about to say. Eyeball and tell them that what you are doing is total nonsense. And for God's sake, they are of age. They are of age. Wike should be in his 60s. Yeah. The president should be in his 70s or 80s. We don't even know the actual age of the president as at now. But the thing is that they are matured men. And so they should understand that there are generations yet unborn that will read about them. There are people who are looking up to them, even in their weaknesses. And so the interest of the people should matter more. Development and progress of Rivers State is important to me. I don't care if you're an Ijaw man or you're an Akere man. My own is that everybody can live a good life in Port Harcourt. You can have a good job. You can have good quality health care. You can have access to potable water. You can have access to good employment and good job. You can have access to good security. You can sleep and walk the length and breadth of Port Harcourt without fear of being kidnapped. You can travel on good roads. The roads that are existing are not be contracted. You are doing coastal road. Why not fix what are existing before? So this will show to you misplaced priorities. And it's obvious that when somebody is not fully prepared for leadership and they get into power of leadership, that is where you see the lacuna in competence and capacity that we've been clamoring for. Now it is obvious that this present administration have not shown capacity or competence in any field. If there's any, come into a debate and tell me that John, since this administration came into power, dollar has reduced. John, since this administration came into power, pump price is now 64 naira per liter as against what we used to have before. John, as it stands now, the salary of teachers used to be 74,000, now it's 250,000 naira. John, the minimum wage before was 33,000, now it's 200,000 naira. These are the things that we are saying. But however, we don't get to hear all of those things. But we buy cars. Do you know how much money Nigerian government spent on jeeps buying Japanese vehicles? And in that same Nigeria, we have Nord. In that same Nigeria, we have Inoson Motors. Now, let me ask you, imagine if Mr. President himself says that for me as the president, I'm having in my salary and allowances by 50%. Do you think the Senate president will not take you? Do you think the APC governors who are standing on his mandate will not take you? Do you think the House of Rep members who are standing on his mandate will not take you? Do you think all those local government chairmen who are standing on his mandate will not take you from there? They will. And that would have reduced the cost of governance drastically. Two, if the president says that I'm driving Nord car as my official car, and that everybody in my cabinet, including my ministers, will have to drive either Nord or Inoson, it should be made in Nigeria. If, as president says, I'll be wearing my kaftan, made in Nigeria clothes, my wristwatch will be made in Nigeria, my shoes will be made in Nigeria. As the president, you have shown to the world that you are the number one ambassador of buy Nigeria, wear Nigeria, eat Nigeria, use Nigeria. And that would have been the thing that you sell across the global lens. That skill, every other person who is under your umbrella will take a cue from you. What would that do for us? That will make us a highly industrialized state. And I've come to say to people that care to listen, until Nigeria come back to that era where we have regional revitalization, where every region can develop. My brother, Nigeria is blessed and rich. Do you know that the 36 states have different things that they can use to get money in terms of tourism? But here we are fooling ourselves and focusing energy on things that are not productive. At the end of the day, if we can get River State now is in control of power, of what importance is it to the people? Is it bringing in more factories? Is it bringing in more jobs to the people? Is it bringing good healthcare delivery? Is it bringing good security? The answer is no. And so people should understand that these political, demons, like I call them, are for themselves and not for the people. And the people should understand that Wike will come, Wike will go. Fubara will come, Fubara will go. But Rivers State will remain. The office of the governor will remain. The office of the speaker will remain. House of Assembly will remain. Rivers State as a state will remain. They should take a cue and ask themselves, Odili was a governor before. Where is Odili now? Is he still a governor? He's not. But Rivers State is still existing. So they should understand that a time will come that it will fade away. And when they fade away, what will people say about them? What will students now, we are in school, read about the history of somebody called Wike? What will they read about Fubara? And I think it's a time for all of them to go back into their cupboard, in their separate rooms, go back to their closets in their toilet and sit down in the sink of toilets where they can take and ask themselves questions. Not that you take a bottle of whiskey and you call a media pally and spill things to people as if they don't have the right of reply. And at that point in time, political leaders must also understand that they are public figures. They are heroes. They are mentors to people. They are people who look up to them. They are people who aspire to be like them. And so they should conduct themselves in an honorable manner that is worthy of emulation. On that note, God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so very much, John Akerele, for that awesome conclusion. The truth remains that good governance is not rocket science, just like you rightly said. It's more about intentional leadership. It's about leadership that desires the Nigerian dream, if I would love to use that particular phrase. And if leaders, just like you did say, would really put their minds and allow that Nigeria becomes a fourth line, I would love to believe this country would be a better place. Some pundits will say, why was it difficult for President Bola Tinubu not to do the same thing he did for Obasa and other Lagos State House representatives? Why would he not have replicated the same thing in Rivers State just to ensure that there was peace? But of course, that's the sort of politics that we have in Nigeria. And we just hope and pray that things will get better and hope that everything would equally be great and good. Thank you so very much once more, John Akerele, for being here. We truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Innocent Aduluba. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right.
Bye, John.
Yes. All right, people. That's just about the time we have today. We'd love to say thank you to you for the patience and equally being part of our show today. You made the picture complete. We'd love to say thank you to you. You can actually rewatch this, if you may, when you visit us at Enterprise TV7. And equally, you can read up on this and more when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. My name is Henry Ikwebike. I'll see you tomorrow for yet another great time. Thank you for watching and have yourself a splendid day. Bye-bye.